The offseason chaos begins now. Falcons fans, welcome into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. We got plenty to talk about on today's episode because if you saw the recent news, we saw that early this morning, Bradley Chubb be released by the Miami Dolphins. Then just about an hour after that, Tyreek Hill gets released by the Dolphins. And then they cut a couple of other smaller players. They're cleaning house. I personally believe the Dolphins are in full rebuild mode. They're going to try and create an extra, $10 million, currently at $30 million in cap savings after these recent moves. Going to try and get up to about $40 million after they're all said and done so that they can just kind of reset the books. It's a brand new coaching staff. It's a brand new GM. They're starting over. So on today's Falcons Today episode, we're going to talk about some of these recently released players and why or why not they would make any sense to join the Atlanta Falcons, because now they are technically free agents and any NFL team can make them an offer and sign them to a deal. Before we get started with that, though, here's what I need you to do. Hit that thumbs up icon and hit that subscribe button. Both things are free, by the way. Join the Falcons Today family. If you want nonstop coverage surrounding the Dirty Birds, you got to do me a favor and join the already 51,000 strong that we have here on the channel. Let's start, of course, with the first release. That'd be Bradley Chubb. Now, with the recent news surrounding James Pierce Jr. and his legal situation, we'll call it that, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. We have no idea if he's going to play or not in 2026. My guess is he won't, based off of the speed in which most of these cases play out, based off of the suspensions that the NFL has handed out to other players in similar situations like this. It does appear to me, at least, that James Pierce Jr. will not suit up this season. That would be kind of the best case scenario, is if, hey, we just hand you down a 12 to 18 game suspension. You get a slap on the wrist, essentially. You don't get paid nearly as much. There's some contract reworking, and then maybe next offseason you can join the team again. But again, that is all speculative. I'm not throwing anything out there. That's like the best case scenario. So Bradley Chubb is a 29-year-old now free agent who in 2024 tore his ACL and then comes back in 2025 and had a pretty remarkable season. 8.5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, and kind of plays a hybrid edge / defensive end. He's definitely a pass rushing defensive end. He could do both. He could stop the run and get after the quarterback, but his primary objective on the football field is to get after the quarterback as a pass rusher. Now, originally drafted by the Denver Broncos, traded to the Miami Dolphins, has spent 3 seasons in Miami, only played in 2 because of that torn ACL, so he didn't play in 2024. But 2025 saw a pretty decent, uptick in productivity for him. And for a guy who's 29 years old, who knows how your body's going to react after coming off of a torn ACL? His apparently reacted pretty well. So he's going to have a market. I don't think it'll be for more than 5 to 6 teams, but he'll certainly gain the interest of teams that need a pass rusher. Now, the Falcons don't necessarily need a pass rusher, but having more strength on the defensive line certainly couldn't hurt. So fit-wise, grade-wise, in terms of that fit, I would say probably a B to B plus fit here for the Falcons. Again, if he was more of a run stopper, if he was just kind of like that plug, someone that just takes up space and can kind of stifle the run, and I'm not saying he can't. What I'm saying is that's not his primary game. But again, depending on what you could get for him and sign him for, this would not be a bad signing whatsoever for the Falcons, especially now with James Pierce Jr. out of the mix. You might want to go after someone who can get after the quarterback. This could be kind of a blessing in disguise for the Falcons, which we'll take any win that we can get at this point. So if Bradley Chubb wants to stay on the East Coast, if he wants to just travel a little bit further north, if he wants to, join the Kevin Stefanski and Jeff Ulbrich style of defense, then let's bring him on over to Atlanta. Sign him to a 2-year deal. I don't know what the numbers and the money would look like, but the Falcons do have around $27 million in available cap. So could you go out there and offer him I mean, I really don't know what his market would be after being released. That does play a factor into all this. So maybe 2 years, $20 million, $10 million a year. I don't think. I mean, that's probably a little bit low for a guy like Chubb, but considering he was just released, has suffered an ACL injury recently, that could diminish his price tag. But again, everything is up in the air at this point. Now, we're going to talk about the next guy coming up here in just a second, and that's Tyreek Hill, and why I believe this could be an A signing for the Atlanta Falcons if they were to pursue him pretty heavily. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Factor. Listen, if you want to eat better and you have zero time and zero energy to make it happen, Factor doesn't ask you to meal prep, my friends, or follow recipes. It just removes the entire problem. 2 minutes, real food, and you're done. Choose from 100 rotating weekly meals with lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats, the stuff that you would make if you had the time. Plus, they got a brand new Muscle Pro collection supporting strength and recovery. Again, you get always fresh, never frozen, ready in 2 minutes meals, no prep, no cleanup, no mental load. So head on over to factormeals.com/FalconsChat50 off and use code FalconsChat50 off to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Offer is only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor. Okay, Tyreek. There's a lot of people that are going to be very wary of this signing. And I'm aware of that, and I kind of welcome that criticism. He is coming off of a broken leg, and obviously as a wide receiver, that could be the kiss of death. Who knows what his productivity is going to look like? But if you remember back in 2000 and I want to say it was 24, it's either 2023 or 2024, you're talking about a guy that had 1,700 yards receiving. Now, obviously, probably not going to do that ever again. As he's getting older, losing a step, coming off the broken leg, it is not realistic to think that a player coming off of such a significant injury and getting another year older could do the exact same thing. But keep in mind that this is a player that could very easily get you 70 receptions for over 1,000 yards and 6 to 7 touchdowns next season. I firmly believe in his athletic ability still. I mean, we're talking about one of the fastest players in the NFL, and at a time was probably the fastest player in the NFL, and it wasn't close. So, look, you're not going to get the 2023 or 2024 Tyreek, but could you get 80% of that? Absolutely. And of course, he probably still wants another, maybe not major contract, but something significant. I would sign him to a 1-year deal. Let him play on a prove-it deal and give him $14 or $15 million and just give Michael Penix Jr., if Michael Penix Jr. is your QB1 and that is your plan, get him a reliable weapon. Because one of the things that Atlanta has clearly shown to lack on offense is somebody with tremendous yak ability. Tyreek Hill is one of the most deadly wide receivers in the game with the ball in his hands. He doesn't need to be somebody that stretches the field and runs these go routes anymore. I'd almost use him more kind of in the slot and kind of keep him a little bit of a drag route here, little drag route there, stick route there, screen pass here, bubble screen there. This is somebody that I believe can do tremendous damage still when he has the ball in his hands. And one of the things that Atlanta did not have last year was an effective screen game. Zach Robinson loved to call him, but we didn't really see the chunk yardage and the shortening of the sticks in the screen game because Z-Rob would call them at the most inopportune times. I mean, 3rd and 4, he's calling a screen pass to Bijan Robinson, who's lining up as an X receiver. Well, what are we doing? What are we doing? So Tyreek, in my opinion, still holds plenty of value. Plenty of value. Is he going to command, though, the top dollar still? Because I believe Tyreek is one of those personalities that will still claim that he can do it at the highest level, and he'll want at least $20 million a year. Now, he's not going to get paid. He knows this, too. He's not going to get paid Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, any type of that money whatsoever. He just won't. but I could still see him wanting a sizable amount of money this season. And the thing about one-year contracts is it's very, very hard to push money like that down the road or defer it into signing bonuses or what have you. So if you're signing him to a one-year deal, you're kind of pretty much making that fully against your cap for that season. And the Falcons don't need to get any further along. They're not in cap hell. They're actually top 15 in the league in cap space, but you don't want to see one signing be Tyreek Hill and then a bunch of little tiny minuscule signings down the road. You don't want to sign guys to like 1 year or 2 year, $4 million contracts. That's not going to make or break the season or the effect of the game. So there might be some restructuring done to current players' deals. We saw Kirk take a restructuring, so maybe there's a restructuring coming up on one of the offensive linemen. Could you restructure Caleb McGarry's deal, after he comes off of an ACL and a significant contract extension that we saw last offseason with Caleb McGarry? There's plenty of argument that, yes, we could restructure plenty of our guys on the offensive line or even release players like Darnell Mooney early. So it all comes down to what Ian Cunningham, Matt Ryan, and that front office wants to do with the cap space this season. Do they want to play it kind of safe and make a bunch of smaller signings that, don't really affect the cap too much and then clear up enough for next year to really go after some big name free agents? This free agency class I'd say it's probably mediocre. There's a couple of positions where there are big time, tight end. Kyle Pitts leads this tight end class. I mean, there are plenty of tight ends that are hitting the free agency market, but quarterback is very, very low. Offensive lineman is also kind of low, outside of Tyler Linderbaum. So we could go back and forth about the ranks of this free agency class. And we also know that Ian Cunningham is going to very much focus on the draft. He's going to focus on creating more draft capital for the Falcons by trading down. So you could see us move off of that second round draft pick. Everything is so up in the air right now, but this is the very beginning of what I am going to be considering a very, very loaded offseason in the NFL. Even maybe not so much in free agency for teams like the Falcons, but you will see a high uptick in trades. Obviously, the tag window opens up tomorrow at the time of this recording, so you've got to be wary about that. The Falcons could very much be the first team to throw that franchise tag down on Kyle Pitts. We'll just have to wait and see. That's all I got for you on today's episode. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, help us get up to 52,000, which is our next major benchmark. Excuse me, trying to fight up lunch there. As always, Falcons fans, rise up and be cool.